Welcome to Embrace the Spiritual Podcast. Join friends Michelle and Dawn as they share tips on how you too can open your heart, raise your vibration, and reclaim your sovereignty. Hear what they have experienced and overcome in their spiritual journeys while navigating this expansive spiritual multiverse. Discover how they transform their soul lessons from ordinary into extraordinary.
Follow, subscribe, and share Embrace the Spiritual Podcast on all streaming services, including YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, and visit embracethespiritual.com for bonus content. To book a quantum energy healing session with Dawn, visit her website at alchemy-sacredsound.com. To book an SRT session or Reiki and tuning fork classes, visit Michelle on her website at energetisembrace.com.
Welcome back. I am so excited with our guest speaker today. She's amazing. Her energy is absolutely, I guess, of this world, but out of this world. Her name is Amere Jorlin Carlini. And I met her through a mutual friend, and my friend, I just love her. There's some people that you meet and your hearts talk to each other. Like Michelle and I, when we do our recordings, our hearts talk to each other because we're tapping into that new earth energy. And this beautiful woman, my heart, when she speaks, it just lights up like, I've missed you. Thank you for doing all that you do in this now time. And she just is coming out with a new book called, well, I'll let her introduce it because she can do a better job than I can.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Yes, I'm coming out with a new book called Rainbow Codes, which is designed for the new earth. And my biggest hope, my biggest dream is it'll be used for many generations to come. I often tell my subscribers or my people that I work with, what's your legacy, what you're leaving behind for new earth? And I think the biggest one at the moment is Rainbow Codes. I've been working on this for about the last year, but it's got a lot of activations for the new earth and how we picture new earth and how to keep it activated so that it can never be manipulated again. The timelines can never be stolen from us. That once we are new earth, we're there for good and nothing's going to change that. So this is why it's going to be around for a very long time. It's also got prayers in it, which are very important to do when new earth children are arriving. So we've got the new children coming, we've got the divine feminine raising the divine masculine. So there's a lot in here in the way of how we picture and see new earth and the way people will be. And then at the very end there's some beautiful messages from Mother Gaia, Cerebus Bay, myself, my higher self, King Solomon, and a few others. This is the most current book and it's released by the end of next week. I believe it's coming from the printer. It's full of codes. It's activated. Every book that I put out is activated with light codes and channeling. It's also got a beautiful little card that goes with it. That's also been activated with the diamond codes that I'm having printed that I designed. And that will have a message on the back of it channeled personally to each person that purchased the book. I do that with every book. There's a channeling. I did put one on the back of yours, Dawn. And these messages are for you, for your role, your purpose in life. So that's my little gift to everyone that purchases one of these books.
That is so exciting. I know that I'm going to have one of those books sent, and I know Dawn's got your book just prior to that. When you're talking, Dawn, before about the energy that you can feel from Amere is like I was watching a couple of videos this morning of yours, and then like I could feel the energy coming through the videos. And all of a sudden I was just so tired and I thought, oh, I better go lay down for a bit because I want to be ready for recording today. And Dawn's like, yeah, I think you're getting an upgrade. So, when you tap in, and we'll make sure that we put as part of our podcast description and on our embracethespiritual.com website, we'll put all of your details on so people know how to find you and they can reach out to get copies of the book. And one of the first questions I have for you, and I love that, what you're doing with the meditations and the activations, and maybe for some of our newer listeners, because our podcast is all about raising your vibration. So that's what we're really getting in. Some people are maybe new to spirituality, and then there's some that have, been around for quite a while, but are still, we're always upgrading and leveling up. It's not one step and we're done. So first question I have is with regards to your activations. For our listeners, maybe describe what does it mean when you get an activation, and what are some of the things that people can expect? Could energize somebody like me. It could have just made me rest so that I could download and integrate those changes. So I think that would be a great thing for people to understand what they get when they get your book with the activations.
Yeah, a very good question, actually, because a lot of people don't understand what an activation is. And as I said, mine is pure source light activations that come through from my channelings. One thing about my channelings, for people that don't know who I am, I always ask who I'm channeling with. Are they a pure source light? And they do not get consent if they're not. They have to be a pure light. So I do channel a lot of ascended masters, galactic beings of high light source, and also elementals, Sasquatch, that kind of thing. But in these activations come the code. So the codes that you need to upgrade. So we do chakra activations, which are usually diamond activation, which is crown, or indigo, or heart, or emerald, which is heart. We've done a solar plexus one that I channeled from Ra, the Egyptian god. And, there's many of those kind of ones. Now, when you do the chakra activation, you do need to drink lots of water afterward, and it takes 21 days to integrate within your energy field, your body. It's like a healing. It just doesn't happen instantly. It does have to integrate. So when you've done any chakra activations in any of my books, you need to be able to clear your field, drink lots of water, and give yourself 21 days. And usually you do any chakra activation over a period of 3 days. So 3 days, and then integrate 21 days. If it's a new earth activation where it's more for a purpose of new earth, it's different. You keep doing them as many times as possible when you're out in nature, walking at the ocean, wherever, because every time you put that out into the universe, you're activating that energy and keeping it fresh. And that's why I print them like this, like a notebook size, because you can fit them into your handbag. As you can see with my very first one, Soul Messages, pretty damaged. It's been to the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, all around the world in my bag, and I take it everywhere I go. When I'm out in nature, walking at the beach, whatever, and I do my activations when I can. I always carry a little bag of crystals to give as a honor to the Mother Gaia, and I always do that Sasquatch, elementals, that kind of thing. It's really good to do with children. Take children with you with a little bag of crystals. They love it, especially the chip, and little bottles of crystal dust for the fairies. They love that kind of thing. So when I'm doing activations, you can take things with you. You can take offerings to Gaia, to the elementals, to the Sasquatch. I used to leave apple for the Sasquatch. They love them, and they will eat them. So it depends on what activation you're doing. If it's for the body and your higher purpose, drink lots of water, allow it to integrate. If it's earth, keep it going. The more we do these activations, the sooner new earth is coming.
All right. I love that. I love, and as you're speaking of the chakras, it reminds me, it is like a spiritual surgery, because we're going from lower level, dense energy to a higher, more heart level energy. And I have done past life regressions. I have seen our diamond heart, that, the shape of our heart and how it's supposed to be. I have seen, and I can feel my third eye, the diamond that it's supposed to be. So what she's speaking, before I even met her, I felt it, I saw it, I know that this is real. How many delusional people on other sides of the earth can there be? Energy speaks, and we are doing here is speaking with you from higher levels of love light energy. And it is just the feeling that you get. And I know a lot of our listeners are not there yet. And it is easy to get frustrated, but don't be frustrated. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of time to do it. It's not like, you can do one meditation and you're there. It is constant work. I meditate right before I go to bed, or as I'm trying to fall asleep. I make conscious languaging decisions to speak a certain way when things happen. I do it with my family. This is for me, a 24/7 thing that I know I need to do to help raise the vibration for where we are headed. And I love it because the energies that I feel coming in through my heart chakra is amazing. And you can do it too. It is, divine timing, because that's what we're always told, divine timing. But if you start setting yourself up, one door opens and then another door, and it gets quicker and quicker and quicker. And I thankfully received the beautiful book Guiding Light, and it's just so delightful. I know she's got her new one coming out, Rainbow Codes. I'm super excited. This is like the perfect size. I have petite hands. My hand can fit around it. I am looking forward to going on walks. The pictures that she have, I can feel the energy in them. The grateful message that she has for the Sasquatch, it brought tears to my eyes because I can feel the love and the happiness. And that is how we should be towards each other on a daily basis, and how we can be towards each other on a daily basis. We just have to step away from this false, fake energy that took over and step into the new energy that is waiting for us.
Oh, thank you. I love that. Guiding Light, I channeled in Australia. I'm now currently living back in my homeland, New Zealand, after 15 years. So it's kind of weird being here. But Guiding Light, the cover is from the waterways where I used to walk in lockdown, and I started connecting with the Sasquatch down there, and one of them is called Albert, and that's where I get a lot of my Sasquatch channeling from. Albert is so beautiful. I'm actually going to do a children's series, and I'll be writing about Albert as well. I have drawings of him. I have photos of him, and I know what you mean when you feel that energy, because that's his energy. That's his love. You feel it. I used to walk through the waterways. I used to do lives on Facebook, and people would say, look at the fairies dancing around you. Oh, I see the Sasquatch. And Albert's love just came through every time. I used to sit with him, and the tears would just roll down. And they're happy tears. They're not sad tears. It's heart tears, the real, true love, emotional tears that we feel. And this is the energy they come in on. A lot of people talk about Sasquatch sightings and the vicious animals and all that. They're not seeing Sasquatch, they're seeing the mountain people. There are mountain people that look like Sasquatch. They're just hairy human beings. The real Sasquatch are dimensional. You don't see them unless you see them through your indigo. And they're gentle, beautiful galactic creatures that are here to help bring a new earth. And so that picture on Guiding Light, that cover there, that was taken down. That's where he lives, in the waterways. And he often channels with me, and he tells me how much he misses me. And even when I was traveling up through Canada and dealing with the Sasquatch and speaking to them, he was with me. One thing about Albert is he's very genuine, he's very caring. And one day he called me. I was sitting at home, and he said, Amelia, you must come down to the waterways now. I have important information for you. So, people would think you're crazy. So I get in the car, drive down to the waterways, which was about 10 minutes away from my place, get out, walk through, I go, where are you, Albert? He said, I'm over here. And so I walked over to our little log that we used to sit down and have our meetings. And he said, I've got great news for you, Amelia. He said, we're having a baby. And I went, oh. And he said, we're going to call it Amelia after you. And I said, oh, thank you. He said, we're having a little girl, and her name's going to be Amelia. Well, about a few months later, I get another call. Amelia, come down. The baby's been born. And when I went down, there were pink ribbons around all the trees. And I went, what is these pink ribbons? Am I seeing something here that I shouldn't be seeing? Is this something the council do? There were baby pink ribbons around the tree. I could not believe it. He said, we're having a party. We're doing a naming ceremony for the baby. And so the baby was named Amelia. And I had to be there. I just had to be present in the waterways, sharing my light and my codes. And it was the most beautiful experience. I can't describe it or put it into words, but it was, you could feel it. And they placed Amelia in my hands, and I felt this baby in my hand, and I was like, oh my goodness me, I've never felt anything like it. And I was too scared. I thought, what if I drop it? What are you doing? So that's a beautiful story, and that's how Guiding Light came about, walking through the waterways, and that's the cover.
Wow. Well, I didn't know I needed my box of Kleenex to record this podcast episode, because I love that. And, thank you for honoring the Sasquatch, because I think, like you say, they are a being that has such negative connotations to, and a lot of fear. that is generated around that. And I know, well, I just got goosebumps. I know that I have a connection with Sasquatch as well. You know, I typically see the portals that they create in the woods with the branches, hear the tree snaps. I was at a course, I guess a couple of months ago, and it was beautiful. It was at the instructor's home, and she had beautiful, grassy land that went down to a creek and wooded area behind. And as we were doing one of the meditations, I heard a tree snap. And I knew instantly that it was actually a juvenile Sasquatch who was kind of looking in. He was really curious about what we were doing. So I'd asked her, I said, do you guys have Sasquatch sightings around here? Because what we just heard was a juvenile Sasquatch. And she said, yeah, she said, people have talked about it. And so I'm glad the awareness is coming out and they're being accepted because they are those interdimensional beings and are just loving, like you say, they have families. A good friend of mine, she has sightings of Sasquatch quite a bit. And same thing, when she moved to her land, she knew she was going to be a guardian of that land. That's why she went there. And she lives kind of maybe a couple miles away from the base of a mountain, very woody. And so there's Sasquatch that roam there. And of course, the one time I was there, you could sense they were always there and, in the back of your mind. But like you say, that's where you see them is through your third eye. And sometimes they can manifest physically in front of you. So I just love that you're sharing those stories. I love how it's going to be part of the children's books. And I think that's really important that kids get back to that sense of wonderment and what we may call imagination, which we know isn't really imagination. It's just believing and being open to those things that most people can't see with their physical eyes, but in your heart, right? Fairies are another big one for me. So I just love that. Can't wait to get both books. I want to have you describe for us a little more about your soul mission in teaching others about the ascension into this fifth dimensional earth. I think that term is out there and a lot of people go, really, what does that mean? And throughout our podcast, we haven't maybe spoken to it specifically, but really that's why we're raising our vibration. We want to be able to move into this new earth that is coming from a heart-based perspective, getting back to love, and just to help our listeners really understand what that new 5D earth is. I mean, most of us are kind of living there. We have 1 foot in and 1 foot out because we still have to be in this 3D world. But it'd be great if you could describe that a little bit more for our listeners.
Yeah, sure. It's interesting, you talk about hearing the Sasquatch, the sounds, the clicking of the branches, and which I've heard, and many other things. And it's something that the listeners need to know. You must give them offerings like they love apple and crystals and that kind of thing as well. And play with the children. The children are there. I used to take crystals down, lay them in the ground and point to them so they could see them and understand what we were using the crystals for. And I used to plant them in the trees so that the Sasquatch children would find them. So that's something that is part of our New Earth mission, is to continue that energy, that frequency going. But in my role, it took me a long time to find out what it really was because I was getting so many messages. I started out as a psychic. I've always been a psychic ever since I was a child. And you talk about imagination. It's higher self, it's consciousness, it's beyond the soul. It's information that comes through you as an open channel. And so I was always called at school the dreamer. This person here has been dreaming in class again, daydreaming. I was off in another world, And so that is how I got started. I was always interested and I used to see things and talk about things, and people used to say to me, oh, I think you're making that up. I don't think that's real. Well, yes, it was real. These psychic abilities you have as a child, but you don't know how to describe them or put them forward. And so I was a single mother for many years. I raised 2 children on my own, and for survival, I did tarot reading. And I used to have a lot of client base come in and I do tarot readings. And then I started doing clairvoyancy. And I let that all go for the corporate world because I had to go into the corporate world to make a decent living, which was the IT industry and energy, mining, that kind of thing. And then when I arrived in Australia, it would have been around about 2012, somewhere around there, I started getting channeling. I started hearing and I started writing messages down, and then it just became far more stronger. And then I learned how to protect myself and bring in the true messages of light. And I knew I had something there that I had to work on, but of course I was in the corporate world, so I had to sort of kind of let that slip. However, in meetings and that, I used to tell them when they were doing big projects, don't make that decision, it's not going to work, you're going to go over, it's going to cost you, it's going to blow the budget. And they used to say, well, how do you know this stuff? Anyway, it did. And, they used to say to me, how did you know that? I said, oh, just female intuition, but it was a help sometimes. And then I left the corporate world with the lockdowns, and I started concentrating more on my mission and meditating more because I had more time. And through meditation, they told me that this is your mission, this is your purpose, this is what you're here to do. You are a light worker. You have come to carry the codes through. We need code. We need to reset Earth, and that is your role. To walk on Earth, wherever you go, your footprint puts codes. So when I went to the US, when I went to Canada, I did activations, I did code work. And this is how I knew that I had something here that I had to work with and to let the world know, because we've got to do this together. We're a collective. The stronger we are as a group, the sooner things will start to fall into place and we become the way we were meant to. We're from the future going back to warn ourselves. We've ruined it through greed and materialism. We've got to go back to basics, back to the beginning, living in communities, loving one another, no ego, no judgment, no wealth, no greed. And so with these codes, we bring that into the new earth to wipe everything that has been there that is corrupt. We've got to clear it. So there's a lot of deep work when we're doing the code activations. They said that you would travel and you will write books, and so here I am sharing these codes, sharing this light. Now you talk about fifth dimension. Fifth dimension is dimensional. New Earth will be a new Earth forming its shape. So what will happen is the old Earth will move away and a new Earth will be created as the diamond consciousness. Now, I do have a lot of this to explain on my YouTube, and they showed me in many, many visions and galactic meetings how it's going to form. The new Earth center will be Australia, and everything will form around that diamond around Australia. So both sides, west and east, north and south, will come in closer, which means we have to have disastrous weather and all sorts of things to form it, like we did in the beginning of time, the Great Flood. And so this is why you're seeing a lot of hurricanes, you're seeing a lot of tidal waves, you're seeing a lot of earthquakes, because it's forming a new earth for us to live in. We will go back to the energy of Lemuria in that diamond, and it will be subtropical. You won't have extreme cold and you won't have extreme heat. So the rain will come at night and the sun will be during the day to enlighten your codes, to feed you, because the real central sun, not the fake sun, the real central sun feed us codes to keep our codes going, to keep our light going. And this is how it was. You never had clocks, you never had time, you had sundials. You knew by the end of the day, coming dark, got to get home, the rain is coming. And so this is how New Earth's going to be, and it's going to be sitting in the fifth dimension. Now, you spoke about many of us having 1 foot in 5 and we're mostly in 4, moving into 5. When we are in 5, the ones that are a little bit more advanced and further ahead will go up to 7. We will live in 7 and oversee everything, and then there'll be the 5 dimensional people. The others that do not want to move or shift will remain outside the diamond in the old earth. So you can see the diamond is forming at the moment, and that'll be the new earth, because we are diamond consciousness people. And it was really interesting what you said, Dawn, because our chakras are not circles, they're turning into their diamonds. The diamond on the forehead, the diamond on top, the diamond heart, everything is forming into a diamond. And so we are diamond activated, which is the highest form of consciousness. We're reaching the God consciousness. And so that's what New Earth is about. It's not about these lower root chakra consciousness down here, and greed and wealth and hate and jealousy and ego and all those things that screwed up the world in the first place. A lot of us came from Atlantis. And so what we're doing is we destroyed Atlantis with greed. We sold ourselves out and we made a promise. We will come back and we will fix everything this time. And so that's what we're doing. And that's my role. I'm here to put the codes back, to bring it back to how it was, and that'll be called the New Earth. And many of us are doing this work on ley lines across the earth in different areas of work. Mine is activation, code, meditations, missions. Others are doing other work, healing, technology, and this is what's going to be the New Earth. And it's really a beautiful journey to be part of and to understand once you're there. A lot of people don't get it yet, but they will. There will be a sudden, oh, I finally get it now. I'm here. And they're the ones that are going to need help and healing. And so for them, we have to be ready and we have to do the work on ourselves first, which we're doing. We're dropping the ego, opening the heart, we're opening this, and we're becoming pure source so we can help them become what they need to be in 5D. And this is our mission as a collective. So I hope that answers your question in the sense of where my role is going and how I'm helping people and bringing them through meditation, teaching them to meditate. They may take a year to see something, but they get there finally. And that's a beautiful journey to watch. I've seen so many in my group all of a sudden have recall of their meditation. And I go, you're finally seeing something. Look, you're doing it. You know, this is what my role is, and it's very satisfying to see because these people are now seeing what I see, what I hear, what I see. And when we all can do that together, what an amazing place it's going to be to live in. It's just going to be beautiful, guys.
And if you're thinking, what is she talking about when we open this, this, and this? She was pointing to her heart, her third eye, and her crown. Now, I do have a question because I do talk to Mother Gaia, and I know right now there is a conflict between what is going on with the storms. There's some spiritual people who are saying we need to lessen the severity of these storms, where I have felt that Mother Gaia is saying, nope, I want your support and let me do what I need to do. So I have not tried to control them when they are happening. I'm just saying, let this be in the most natural, organic, loving energy that you need to do what you need to do and let it go. And I don't try to control it either way because it's not mine to say I'm God and this is what I want. Could you speak about that? Because I see the conflict.
Yeah, sure. I totally get where you're coming from because I'm the same. And I have said to Mother Gaia, I have said, what do you need me to do? And the biggest thing we have to do is to step back and let it happen because there's a lot at play here. You've got the misinformation again. Don't forget we're in a time of misinformation, and the misinformation is to confuse us, to segregate us, to cause us to not agree with each other and keep the collective separating, not coming together. So you've got the people that are still saying the chemtrails are happening and this, that, HAARP and all that is happening. It is to a degree, but not like it was. A lot of it's been switched off. The problem is what happened, what the Galactics have told me is that they have switched it off, but a lot of what was set up in the past was on timers. So for 2024, for 2025, for 2026. And so they're there ready to make it far less worse than what it can be. It would have been a lot worse, but they are able to control it to a degree because they've switched it off. However, these timers were set and they don't have the technology or the understanding how they set them up, so they can't turn them off. So there is a bit of that going on, but we're also working with the Federation of New Earth. Now, they're a different team altogether, not the Federation of Light. They are dark and infiltrated with darkness and reptilians, but so don't follow Federation of Light. That's all misinformation. There are many federations, and one of the ones that I channel, Miley, who's on my team, she comes from the Federation of New Earth, and they're working on all the environmental issues. And she told us our ships are here in Florida. before the hurricane came. And she told me what they were doing. And what they're doing is they're doing vaporizing. So what they do is they have a vapor that goes down into the water and it draws all the bad chemicals and everything out of the water, out of the air, out of the atmosphere. Everything is being removed. This is their work. But they're also bringing in the hurricanes so that you don't see them. You don't see them doing their work, but they have to flood, because the flood is the cleansing, the clearing of the soil, of the roads, of the underground. There's a lot of toxic waste underground that is being cleared for us. You can't move that space into New Earth with toxic poisons in it. It has to be cleared. However, with these hurricanes and other things that are happening, people will lose their lives. Unfortunately, that is their soul contract. They came here to learn that lesson about something and to leave. We do feel sorry in our hearts, but we cannot get involved on that level. We have to look at the level that we're here to create and be above it all and know what's really happening. And so Mother Gaia is saying, step back, let it happen, because you're forming the diamond consciousness of New Earth. Let it unroll, let it be. We have the galactics working on it. We have the Alliance working on it. We are going to be okay. You've got to go through this. It happened in the beginning of time. The land separated. We had floods. You know, and a lot of these countries that have got water between them were actually joined together. They were a huge landmass, and we're going back to reshaping, reforming. And so this is what a lot of the weather is. But the technology, the bad technology, I can confirm has been switched off.
That is great news. And I love that you pointed out about the soul contracts, because that's certainly what Dawn and I have talked about in past episodes. I mean, free will is a big thing, right? Everyone has free will. Everyone's come in with a contract, and some have designated exit points, which may be these storms. So be mindful, especially if you follow people that want to do big prayer groups or meditations around, like you said, Dawn, lessening the effects of these things, because Gaia wouldn't put out something like that if it wasn't meant to happen in a certain way. You know, be respectful of what she is truly wanting as well. And certainly get Amiria's books, because she's got messages from Gaia in certainly the latest books. And I think that's really important. We talk a lot about Gaia. As Dawn said, she channels a lot of information, and just to reconnect with her, honor her for meet her where she's at. So I love that you talked about those 2 points. And I wanted to share with our listeners one of the things that you had posted around the 1010 portal, which was very powerful in this year of 8 in 2024. And I wanted to just list these out quickly. You made a post with a little image about 12 signs that you are using your higher consciousness. Because when we're talking about the new earth and raising your vibration, sometimes people don't know, well, how do I know it's happening? You know, because there's lots of information floating out there, misinformation as well, about what it means when your consciousness is, like when you're ascending and whatnot. So one of the things was your energy is becoming more loving and softer. So that's what we're talking about, getting out of our ego and truly getting back to your heart. And I know I certainly advocate a lot for be that observer, because when you take an observer role, you're stepping out of judgment and you're stepping away from your ego, and you're understanding, again, that free will, somebody's soul contract you don't want to interfere with. So becoming loving and softer, I think, is really, really key. And I love that that's the top one on your list of higher consciousness. Taking full responsibility for where we're at. We do have free will. Even if you do nothing, that is a choice. That's a free will choice. You own your emotions. Nobody can make us react a certain way. We choose how we react based on our perception of the situation. Practicing self-love, your kind, loving, compassionate. We just did a couple episodes ago, we were talking about this very, these same concepts. And I love that we have this other communication of these same things. Like it's not something Dawn and I are just making up, right? These are things that here you have somebody working at such a high level for the collective. And some of these are actually quite simple and basic, and no disrespect by basic, but it really is coming down to fundamentals, I guess. Getting rid of those destructive habits. So once you start dissolving those, you're raising your vibration. You become more productive. You pull away from toxic people. We've talked a lot about this Dawn's done some very brave things, disconnecting from toxic family, because yes, you may be blood related, but doesn't mean you have to put up with that crap, right? And practicing gratitude and not feeling like you have to compete. I think that's something that people may not think they're in their ego, but they're comparing themselves to others, right? Even you look at the three of us, we all work in different energies, but they're all complementary and synergistic and meant to happen. We all aren't supposed to have the same role. We all need different roles. So I think that's really important. But I think when you have a strong desire to change your life, moving towards that loving, healing yourself, like Maria said, that even as people who are facilitating healing for others, if we don't work on ourselves, it's harder to be that clearer channel and vessel for being open to helping other people. So I really like even these simple, we're talking creating a new earth, but really these are tangible things that you can be aware of. So celebrate yourself. If you are getting rid of destructive habits, even if it's something small, celebrate it, because that celebration is an acknowledgement to the universe that I'm here, I'm open for whatever you have. So I wanted to just point that out because I think it was a great list of ways to tap into our consciousness.
Thank you. And one thing about what you're saying is it's about working on yourself and going back to basics and reviewing how you live your life. And, over the years, we've come to the conclusion ourselves what's best for us, to be clear, to be consciousness. And one thing I've learned about myself is that I too had to remove myself from toxic family members. In fact, I've divorced myself from my family completely and changed my maiden name, so I'm not connected to them in that energy. Unfortunately, starseed and light workers do come from toxic families because we're different and we have to experience that to be able to help others. But I've changed my way. Like I don't watch TV, I don't drink, I haven't drunk probably until 3 years, don't do drug, not really a big person on pharmaceutical medicines, don't have anything to interfere with my indigo or my crown. And this is what you're talking about, living a life of pureness and allowing yourself to be clear channels to bring in these new energies, because anything that's there is going to fog it up. And you can see it with people that aren't clearing their channels properly. I see it a lot in my daily work. Eat as much organic as you can. I even drink organic coffee. If I choose to drink coffee, I drink organic coffee because normal coffee was designed to block the indigo. And so, these are the things you've got to look at, the way you're living and the way that you are bringing information forward. You have to be sort of an example to others. And I find it hard because a lot of people are still drinking, they're light workers and they're drinking, they're eating meat. And I'm going, but you're not getting the correct information through because you're allowing yourself to have these other things in your energy field. We are not meant to eat flesh. We're not meant to be drinking alcohol. Yes, Jesus drank wine, but it was the wine in the beginning of time before Deep State Cabal put alcohol in it. It was pure grape juice. It was organic and they called it wine. So, this is something that you're really spot on about. I can't stress enough the way you need to change your life to be more of a clear channel. And we let go a lot of past stuff, inner child healing. And I do have an inner child healing activation, actually, if anyone wants that, because it's very important to clear those inner child wounds. A lot of that stuff we bring through from our childhood and past lives need to be cleared, and we really need to review the way we live so that we can be this beautiful, clear, open channel for New Earth. And it's hard for people to start adjusting and coming to that consciousness. They're getting there because in New Earth we're not going to eat other beings, we're not going to eat meat, we're not going to drink alcohol, we won't need it. We'll be in a far different dimension of happiness and pureness, and a lot of the communication will be through the indigo. It won't be through here, it'll be through there. And our song, we'll have a song, which is the love language, the original tribal language of love, not the light language. So there's a lot coming, but we have to be an open, clear channel for it to come through. So I love how you talk about that, because that's a huge part of what we're becoming as a collective of people.
beautiful. And I agree. Like, people don't understand that. I joke around. I'm like, I'm a temple. Like, why would I want to, put something in my body that would defile it? But it is, it is a conscious choice. And if you're not ready to make it, that is okay. There is no judgment. That's, being in your heart space there's no judgment. You're not there yet. You may never be. And that's okay. I know what I need to do for myself to bring this energy through. And you need to do what you need to do to be here. So I just love how you talk about the energies and what is going on. And it's just, even if you just start understanding where we're coming from and not getting the scope for those who are new listeners, it is okay. We need to get this information out, because I felt like when I started watching you, I felt she needs to be on our podcast, and I saw it happening, and I didn't know when. I just knew she's going to be on, and I can't wait. So the time is now. The episode is coming out on 11/22, and 11 is my divine number. I see it everywhere. I got a confirmation, I did a payment, and she's like, your confirmation number is 111. And then it had 92, which equals 11. And at the end was 83. I'm like, thank you, team, for letting me know. And this was yesterday that, that I'm doing the right things. And it's so awesome, because when I drive to, you have your numbers and everything, but sevens have been appearing. So our teams are always talking to us. You might not think, but you start adding the numbers up, and they are going to synchronistically start talking to you. And then you're going to, start feeling those heart activations, those angel goosebumps. There's so many signs, and it is not to be dismissed that's just not something. It is something. Start believing in yourself. I believe in, all our listeners who are listening. You can do it, and just open the door.
Absolutely. And you just made a wonderful point too about being able to do it. Never give up. Just keep working at it. Doesn't matter. There's no golden rule here. You don't have to meditate every day if you don't want to. You just have to go with what feels best for you at the time, because this ascension journey, we're all at a different level. We're all growing at a different strength, but we're all going to get there. We're all going to catch up. Don't worry. We're all going to be there, and it's going to be beautiful. We'll be divine feminine energy again, divine masculine energy. And that's what we've got here. 3 divine feminine coming together. We've probably had past lives together, and we're working on something that has no ego, no competition, nothing, no jealousy, nothing, no judgment. We're just divine feminine sitting in the energy, knowing we've worked on ourselves, and we're passing that information on to others so they too can start working and being for the new earth. And that's all it's about, is sharing the love and the information that we have. And it's not misinformation, it's correct information, because it's come from source. It's come from pure light source and no other. And that's what keeps me going, is knowing that I trust my pure source light more than anything else. So, and 11, you said you like the number 11. That's a divine feminine number. That's why you like it.
There is no surprise about that, Dawn.
10 is divine masculine. 11 is divine feminine.
Can you share, there's a lot of talk about, as we come into New Earth, that there's this wave of ascension that's going to be coming, that if people haven't kind of done the work and worked on themselves and healed those inner child and things like that I think some people say they'll be wiped out. Maybe that's their exit points. Who knows? Can you talk a little more about the concept of the wave of ascension and its accuracy or not? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, good question. The way it's been shown to me is there are some that will not ascend, and that's their soul contract. They have to go off to another planet. I think it's a 5D planet, but it's a learning planet. And in that planet, they will learn the ways of what they can be, their potential, that kind of thing. And then they can come back as a new soul and work on the new earth, because they're not ready to shift yet. Then there's a wave of people that just are not going to. They're just going to sit in 3D matrix and stay there, and it will remain on the outskirts. If you look at something like Planet of the Apes, and they have the old earth, and they're looking at it, and it's all destroyed, and it's horrible, and it's stuck. That's the old matrix. That's where they will be. They will live like that. They'll continue in that lifetime. There's a different timeline. And then the loved ones that we share that are close to us in our hearts and in our daily lives, our children, our partners, those sort of people, even if they're not shifting yet, they will still shift with you, because that's the soul contract that you made to bring them with you. So that will not be segregated. So do not fear that you're going to leave your children or your husband or your wife behind, because they will be with you. Life is not that cruel, especially when it's connected to source. And they will learn as they go. They'll sit in 4D, 5D, and you can filter in and out. The problem is when you're in 5D, you can never go back to 3D. That's why a lot of us are sitting at the moment in that 4 dimension, because we sit there and we can still dip in and out. We can dip in and out over here. But when we shift permanently into 5, we can only go 4 or 7. And so this is what's happening. Those loved ones that are still moving, still shifting, will sit in that 4 and then slowly shift with you into 5. They will have an opportunity. Many of the people I work with, they say, oh, I can't believe it. My husband's finally waking up. He's finally getting it. He's now understanding. I said, I told you, you're not going to be separated. He's coming with you. This is what it's like. So don't fear. Always know what's in your heart and how you feel about somebody. They're there for a purpose. They're coming with you. They're part of that collective, that journey, that ascension journey, that new earth journey. The ones that you break away from and are no longer in your timeline, they're not there. They're not coming. They're somewhere else. Just ignore them, because it no longer serves you. It's not something that serves you anymore. If it drags your soul down, your connection down, let it go, let it be. Too many people today are afraid to be on their own, and so they hold on to these toxic relationships, even light workers, and you've got to learn to let it go, because it'll drag you down and you won't shift. You won't grow the way you're meant to. Let it go. There's some better stuff happening out there. I have a soul family. I don't have a blood family, but I have a soul family. And so that's even better, because there's no judgment. There's no toxic jealousy. It's just pure love. And that's what we're aiming for. And that's how we lived in our communities. That's how we lived in our tribes. And that's what we're going back to.
And I love that, because I've left my family, and I think about them often, because I'm like, it was a toxic jealousy, hate, and I'm like, that's not what I am. It's just so, like, I think about, oh, me now and me then. And yeah, it was tough to do, but my husband and my daughter sat with me while I made that phone call to my mother, and they both supported me. And I just love that they were there, did that for me. And it has been the best thing that I have ever done, because as I tell myself, I'd rather be alone with them than with people who carry this lower negative energy. And when you're talking about the drinking, I was thinking about where I live right now. There's a minimum of 25 bars. So I'm just like, I know why I'm here. I am holding that light for all those who cannot realize that it's not good for them. So, I no judgment, but I know what it does to the body. And, same with the pharmaceuticals. I cannot remember the last time I had a pharmaceutical. It's probably been 10, 15, maybe even 20 years since I have needed to take anything. They just don't resonate with me anymore. And the more that you find alternatives, and that's what I do. When I need something, I talk to my team. I say, all right, this is what I need. Find me where it's at, what I need. I don't know what it is. You do it. You do the research, because you are this infinite knowing, and let it be directed to me. And it's that faith. And I love that you are, you're there, you're living it. You didn't know what would happen when you left that corporate world. You just knew, I have to change, and this is what I'm going to do. And I love that you've written 3 books, and I'm looking forward to your new one. I want your first one, and I just love the second one. It just greens my color. So when I see it, it's just I love this. It just makes me so happy, and the love and the messages in it. And when you get her books, I highly recommend that you have a Post-it note for the activations, for the prayers, because some of them are to be done, daily for 21 days. And I think there was one in this book that was repeat it so often. And I want to mark down like, okay, this is like got to be on the schedule so I can do it properly and give it my all that needs to be done, and then be done with it. And if I feel like I need a refresher because I got off track, I'm going to do okay, this is it. This is what I want. So I love that it's so simple, not complicated. It's written out, so easy to read. And I don't think I spoke on this. The children's book, you have truth chapter in this one, and it talks about the Sandman and Jack Frost, and I love those energies because I'm like, they are good, loving energies, and I could see myself reading this to children, and the children would be like, yep, I get it, I'm there, this is truth, I feel it, because they already know. We come in knowing all this truth and we lose it, but we're getting it back.
Absolutely. Sandman is not something to be afraid of. They programmed us to be afraid of Sandman. I actually did a video on YouTube about Sandman. Mr. Sandman, he said never be afraid of him. He comes when abundance is needed. So that's what he does. He sprinkles the gold sleepy dust over you. Ask him for help when in your heart space. He will help you with abundance. He leaves gold sprinkles of dust or pennies. How often do you wake up and there's a penny under your pillow while you're sleeping? That is how you know he's been and granted you help. That's his channel that he came through to me. Same with Jack Frost. We were always taught to be afraid of Jack Frost. Watch out, he'll get your toes. Wasn't that at all. He was here to actually protect us from the frost. It was the opposite to what they were telling us. And, I even drew them. They came through. They asked me to draw them. Mr. Sandman with his big hat. He can be scary because it's a black hat, big with a brim on it. But he's beautiful, his energy. And the Guardians, Scarlet and the Guardians that come in and help heal at night, the little bonnet people. They sit at the end of your bed with little coloured bonnets. They're gorgeous. They come in and help quite often. And I draw them as much as I can because I've started to learn how to draw as well and channel that. And I say, well, you have to use the pencil. I don't know how to draw you, that kind of thing. And so that's what's the next series of books I'm doing. Mama Poss, the fairies, the Sasquatch, and so forth. That's all coming. And I will continue to do these type of books. I've got the recipes. I've got all the chakra ones I want to put out. And you'll notice the covers are the colors of the chakras. Each color is a chakra, like the rainbow codes is a chakra, guiding light, soul messages. So they're all connected to a certain energy, a frequency. Nothing is by accident here. Everything's been channeled from the color to the design. It's all come through via beautiful source light. And it's usually when I'm trying to drop off to sleep, and then I'm going to grab my phone and record the message. And same with Mother Gaia. Her message to me was, dear, I'm getting younger. And I said, And she said, you're all getting younger. You're not getting older, you're getting younger. So I had to think about that for a while. And then she told me she was pregnant. And I said, what do you mean by being pregnant? She said, you see lots of pictures of Mother Gaia with the world in her belly. She said, I'm creating new earth. I'm birthing new earth and I'm ready to birth it. So all these weather patterns and everything that we're getting are her contraction. This is new earth coming. And these are the kind of messages I'm getting as I'm dropping off to sleep. So then I don't get to sleep because then I've got to write it down or record it so that I don't forget it in the morning. So I'm glad you appreciate this kind of work because it takes a lot from me when I'm trying to drop off to sleep, and I can put it into some sort of word or document for everyone to enjoy. And that's another part of my mission, is to share it with everyone.
And I love that you're sharing it from the perspective of, you're sharing it for the messages that you receive versus a lot of people, I think, share it from the perspective of discounting something else, right? And I think, certainly children's books, sadly, when I look back at really, we talk a lot about conscious languaging, the language that's used in cartoons and books. Like I look back and go, yikes, but we do the best what we can at the time with what we know. And so we have to be careful not to judge ourselves for that because it was at that time and that's what happened. And all we can do is go forward. So I love that you're sharing it from here's what's being shared. And the fact that it's Gaia's contractions. I really like that you said that because of course there's a lot of fear put into, the climate change and all of these things that are fear-based disaster and they're not. When you take a step back and observe them as something like Gaia creating a new earth and those are contractions, you go, well, yeah, it's no wonder all of these things are happening, So I love that. And I wanted
She actually told me during the COVID, she said, that's my morning sickness.
Interesting. And makes
How's
sense.
that? That blew me away. I was like, she said, when you're in lockdown with COVID, which wasn't really real, it was a flu, that's my morning sickness. That's my time of rest and adjusting, ready to have the pregnancy, we're at contraction state.
Wow, I love that. Whew, this gives me goosebumps. One of the videos that you shared on your Facebook page, I paused it so I could write down this quote of a channel that you did, and I didn't quite catch it. It was Mary something. And the quote was that what is nurtured blossoms and grows. And when the mind is free, the spirit is willing, all things are possible. And so I might have botched that a little bit, but I think that's from is it quote in your book, one of your channelings? And
it's
I just
Rainbow. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's in Rainbow Codes. It'll be Mother Mary.
Thank you. I really like how, it's impressive, the beings that you are channeling. And, certainly a lot of people maybe channel one or two things, but you have channel messages from so many sources, so to speak. And I like that. Sorry, I've got so many thoughts coming my way. I'm trying to make human sense of them.
Take your time.
Yeah, I think it's important that when we have these channel messages to realize that you may be getting messages too. And, they might be coming in when you're sleeping. And I think a lot of times, sadly, with the confines of religion, I'll say that a lot of people are thinking that the channeling is from one source. And yes, it might be, but we have our higher self and other beings too. And so the question I have for you is, because you are channeling so many different types of beings for yourself, how do you recognize who you're channeling? Did they outright tell you? Is it more a feeling you get? Because I think that's where some people, they put it to one external source. And I think it's unfortunate because then they kind of say, oh, well, so-and-so told me that, and they don't use their own heart discernment to see what that message really was about.
I agree. And I work with a team of light. So I've worked with them for some time now. They came through with meditation, like Miley from the Federation of New Earth, my father, Master Orbit, my guide, Small Feather, and many others. I even have my mother that's passed over now working with me. The thing is, you work with them first and you ask them to be your gateway, protect you with a gateway. Because once you're a channeler, anything can come through. So you do need to make sure you have your protection up, do your protection every day and night, and ask them to be the gateway, be the gatekeepers of your soul, of your energy field, so nothing gets through. And I know I have had them knocking at that gate, and I just say, you do not have consent. And then I always ask, please step forward. Who are you? Where are you from? What planet are you from? What dimension are you from? Who do you know? What is this about? What's the connection? I have all these questions, and then I go to Master Orbit, my father, who oversees the high councils, and I say, is this okay? And he'll either say no or yes and let them in. You have to connect on a connection with someone on the other side as a being, or a team of light, or a guardian angel. I work a lot with the angels as well. I bring them in, Archangel Michael, especially Archangel Gabriel, and I ask them to protect me at all times so that they are working with me as well. They wouldn't let them in otherwise. Master Orbit has told me, I did actually have some dark galactics try to hijack me and take me away. They started to lift me up into the ship, and Master Orbit brought his team in and stopped it, cut the thread. No, leave her. She's my daughter, and they have very high respect for him. So it has happened. It has almost happened, but it's the way you work, the way you connect, and the way you question it, and keep questioning. Just don't trust anything until you get the answers that you need. Also, you feel it. When I connect with really high light beings, they bring in that beautiful unconditional love. So when I channel, I cry a lot because it's happy tears, and I feel it. I feel my father's love. It makes me want to cry. crying out. When Master Orbit comes in and he puts his hand on my shoulder, I just feel his love like no other. I've never experienced that in my entire life, but you feel it and you know it. When Albert the Sasquatch stands behind me and breathes on my neck, it's just beautiful. You know, you're dealing with light, pure source. It's nothing evil, it's nothing dark, and it will not get in. It's not allowed to be there. And I have been highly protected for this work that I'm doing. And that's why I'm getting more information through. Not because I'm good at it. It's just that I'm protected now. I can allow them in and start working with me.
Beautiful. I love it. I love your work. I'm so excited for your new book and getting the first book.
Would you like to hear... I just got told that I've got to read Mother Gaia's message from Rainbow Codes. And I've drawn her too as an old lady with a scarf around her head because that's how she first came through. But just remember, she's getting younger. Message from Mother Gaia. I never age, even though I am ancient. I age only in wisdom. I am knowledge that is unknown to you. My wind is my whispers. My rain is your cleansing. My earth is your grounding. My ocean is your rebirth of code. My sky is your oxygen to breathe life. I give to you unconditionally. I protect you if you respect and honor me. I provide for you. I love you. My light beings of love, I give you all, Mother Gaia.
Follow, subscribe, and share Embrace the Spiritual podcast on all streaming services, including YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, and visit embracethespiritual.com for bonus content. To book a quantum energy healing session with Dawn, visit her website at alchemy-sacredsound.com. To book an SRT session or Reiki and tuning fork classes, visit Michelle on her website at energeticembrace.com.
Infinite love and gratitude. Thank you for joining us.